So welcome everyone. It's already April 8th. I can't believe it, but it's April 8th, 2020. We've made it to this week. My name is Leora. I'm the school mental health lead for the Pacific Southwest Mental Health Technology Transfer Center. I use pronouns she, hers. I'm based in Los Angeles, California. So hi to all the Californians on the line. And we're so grateful to be here. I want to note that this is our third Wellness Wednesday, and they have grown every single week, both in geography and in number and in depth, and also for me in not only purpose for how I can serve others, but also how I can serve myself. So feeling like this usually just comes right at the right time. So our purpose today is to give us the space to reflect on what we need and how we're doing in this moment, not before this moment, not after this moment, but just in this moment. I want to note that we are going to be muted the whole time, but really relying on the chat box to provide resources, to ask questions. I know there are many of you over the past couple weeks who've asked for a thing, and someone provided the thing, and that's the kind of network that we'd like. We're going to start off with a little bit of intro to Zoom, and then we're going to intro to this conversation and then get into some of our practice. So without further ado, great. So I want to say before we get started that if you are on video, beautiful, and we love seeing you. And if you are not on video, that's also okay. We know that bandwidth is an issue. We know that sometimes we don't want to be on video. All of that is good. So you do what you need to do for yourself. And we're happy with you making the right choice for what you need in this moment. So just wanted to note that you can, in Zoom, you can be at 50% screen or full screen. You can kind of use it the way you need to use it. And you'll see that there's a drop down that says view options, and that's where you can kind of maneuver how you want to use Zoom. Michelle, next slide. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see that it says participants, and it also says chat box. So if you click on participants, there you'll see everyone. You'll see a couple, you'll see everyone. You'll see a lot of options, and you'll probably see your name. If you see your name, we're going to do an experiment. You'll see a drop down that says more, and then you'll see an option that says rename. And then it'll open to your name, and you can rename yourself. I'm going to ask for you to keep your actual name, but in parentheses, put how you are feeling in this moment. Okay, so I'll model that. I'm feeling okay. Not good, not bad, okay. And so then I'm going to click rename, and you should see that right after my name, you've got the kind of description. And so, right, Erin with the nails from San Jose, good to see you. So Erin is feeling happy. What else have we got? Can we see anyone else? Yeah, so some of us are feeling tired, some of us are feeling positive. So I want to encourage you to kind of practice, and you can also put whatever else you'd like to put in the rename, but it's a really helpful way for us to kind of see where we're all at. So we've got a continuum of tired to okay to positive. Feels natural for a Wednesday afternoon on April 8th. Let's move forward. Okay, great. You'll also see that there should be a raise hand function in the participant, and if there isn't, that's okay, because you'll be able to move forward. And then we're going to continue. Okay, great. So welcome to School Mental Health Wellness Wednesdays. It's a time for us to connect and reflect and support. And just like you're doing right now, kind of name all the different feelings that you're feeling. I also see gratitude. I see bored. All of that is good and okay, because that's just the realness and where we're at. We're really excited at the Pacific Southwest Mental Health TA Center to partner with the Meaning Makers Collective, and they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves in a second. Let's move forward. So we're funded by SAMHSA, but we don't necessarily represent all of what SAMHSA, the Southwest Mental Health Administration, all of their views, but we are grateful for the funding. We'll move forward. So this is the tiny font slide. I just want to say that you will get all the slides in PDF at the end and in a follow-up email, so have no fear or no anxiety about that particular piece. I want to mention that We are Region 9, so you'll see at the bottom left, we're the Pacific Southwest region, and we are funded to support the school mental health workforce in the U.S. Pacific Islands, California, Hawaii, and Nevada. And we know that many of you are on the line from South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Oregon, et cetera. All good, because those are all of our colleague MHCTCs, and we're open to everyone. And Texas, Claudia, I see you. We're open to serving everyone, and we're tasked with specifically funding our region. So all of you have an MHCTC, and if you're interested in getting to know your particular MHCTC, if you don't already, please let me know and I can connect you. I want to just land that we at the Pacific Southwest, so I'm the school mental health lead, and we have 2 areas of concentration. One is on school mental health literacy and leadership, really thinking about how we can foster bilingualism between the education worlds and the mental and behavioral health worlds. And then the second is a concentration on school crisis readiness, response, recovery, and renewal. And so you'll see that a lot of our programming usually lies in both of those streams. And I'm actually not really going to say much more about us because I want us to just get to the goodness. So if we can move forward here. Okay. So we're going to start with a welcome. Hopefully you all feel welcomed. Leora, introed. We're going to do a little bit about that later. We're going to get into what is wellness and then do some settling, integration, and next steps. So I want to just name that we are not going to be able to get to everything and anything, but Adrienne Marie Brown, if you can actually just go right back, Michelle, one more forward, thank you, just settle here, that Adrienne Marie Brown offers us that there's always magic in a unique cluster of humans. And so I want us to just kind of find what we can get from this time together in this moment. And the purpose of this time together is that Peter Levine, who's one of the great teachers of trauma and resilience and understanding the connection between the body and the brain and also the social ecology, Peter Levine offers us this quote that I'd like to ground us in, which is that trauma is not what happens to us, but what we hold inside of us in the absence of an empathetic witness. And for many of us, and I'm actually speaking really from myself right now, that for many of us who are in quarantine or in physical isolation or are not in a space where we're actually feeling seen for all of the emotional labor that we've been doing, that part of these Wellness Wednesdays is to carve out a space where we get to say, like, I see you and I see myself and I'm with you. And that is enough. So with that, I'm going to pass it to the Meaning Makers Collective and I'm put myself on mute and we're going to get to do some witnessing.
Thank you, Leora, for that introduction. I think your voice and tone and the framing already is allowing me to feel quite welcome and invited. It's good to see a whole lot of you that I've seen in the last couple of weeks. Thank you for coming back to us. And if you're new, welcome. I'm Judy Fernandez, and I'm the co-founder, one of the co-founders of the Meaning Makers Collective. And if you had a chance to do the registration, maybe you checked out our webpage to learn a little bit more about the services we do. But really what brings me to this moment here and now is a culmination of personal and professional experiences. I have over 15 years of experience working in public schools. As a teacher, as a wellness director, and as a school principal. And so that kind of culmination of experiences of working with students of color, and for myself, as I identify as a first generation student and woman of color, born and raised in East Los Angeles, kind of came together to really provide a sense of making meaning for other people and to really understand the impact that adversity and trauma has had on the lives of myself, but really on the lives of those that I have served for so long, which is students and school, staff. So what we do at the Meaning Makers Collective, currently what we're doing is we provide a series of professional development workshops that can be around issues around understanding trauma and healing, equity, inclusion, and employee well-being. And we also provide individual and team coaching. So that looks like coaching for teachers or small teams, groups of teams at schools, classified staff, principals, administrators. And then we also provide some parent engagement opportunities and workshops. And you might check out our webpage and you might learn a little bit more. We also do some facilitation around rituals for loss, celebration, and transitions that happen in schools. And so I'm really excited to be here today and to provide an opportunity to just be reminded to take a moment for ourselves, because this work is hard, and to stay in this work really to not burn out and to not get even, more unhealthy or sick, that we really got to care for ourselves as we care for others. So good to be here, and Michelle will say a little bit more words there.
Hi, my name is Michelle Curda, and I'm the other co-founder of Meaning Makers. And Judy pretty much said all that needed to be said. Just to name that this work with Meaning Makers for me is really the current culmination of my work as an educator, as a youth and community organizer, working with teachers and teams of teachers in schools to really bring a focus and really honor the inner lives of people who work in schools and in people serving roles. So I'm really grateful to be here. This, as Leora said, has been an important time for me every week, the last few. So with that, I'll pass it to Judy. We can move on.
Sure. Okay, so for the purpose of our days, and I'll say this is a hard one for me, and it's a practice, which we'll learn about what wellness might be for me. It's a practice, which is to slow down, to listen to our bodies and to connect with each other in mindful ways. And so what that might mean just for this next couple of minutes or in the next 20, 30 minutes is to care for yourself as you see fit. So whatever works for you, continue using that or doing that, and whatever's not working or is not feeling right, just stop it, and invite you to just feel comfortable. If you need to drink some water, I have some as a reminder here. If you need to step away to go to the restroom, whatever you need to do, this hour is meant to do that, wherever you're at, to just slow down and to connect. It's also to have a focus on some self-care and self-regulation, and what that means to kind of help, some techniques to really help settle our nervous system as a way to slow down, or as an access point to be able to slow down. And that self-care is really collective care, that when we care for ourselves, we can better care for others. And then what we want to do also is to surface what the field of school mental health is in the region, what you need, what might be helpful. And so you could, as something comes up, as you have a thought or a question or curiosity, feel free to put it on the chat box there. And Michelle or Leora and I or Carrie, we're taking a look at that and make sure that we respond to the best of our ability. So that's our purpose. All right. So it might be redundant if you were here before. I like the roll call. I think it just helps us, again, make this experience a little bit more dynamic with the chat box. So what I'm going to do is kind of call out maybe what your role might be in school mental health or in school site staffs. And when I call that out, just use the chat box by adding that symbol there. Okay, so we're going to give it a try. So we're going to start off with the teachers. If you're a teacher or identify as a teacher here, please put a hashtag in the chat box. All right. Okay, if you are a principal or an AP, can you put an @ sign there? Okay. And I think it's slow because you're slowing down to care for your bodies, unless my computer gets frozen, y'all let me know or something like that. So great. Okay, I see some people responding there. If you're a school counselor, can you put a percentage sign there at the chat box? Welcome, school counselors. All right. School psychologists or social workers, please put a $sign there. Hello, welcome all of you. Great. District administrators, plus sign. Welcome. And any other kind of behavioral health partner, can you put an exclamation mark there? And I know there's different titles and stuff, so that was kind of like around wording there. Hopefully we captured everybody. And if we didn't, if I missed someone, you could feel free to type in your role if a role wasn't shout out or wasn't part of the roll call. Just type in your role there. And as you do that, just one last thing. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm in California. I'm in Los Angeles. It's around 3:15, and I know that we have people here from New York and from Florida, so it's quite late. And as Leora mentioned earlier, we're dinner dates today. And so we really appreciate taking some extra time right now for yourselves to connect. So thank you for being here. Welcome. Community school coordinators, great. Senior community school coordinator, welcome everyone. All right. Well, as you continue to type, we're going to kind of just jump in. You know, these gatherings are called Wellness Wednesdays, and so we found it important to maybe provide a framing of what wellness might mean or how we might define it. And so what we've done here in this definition is kind of put some words together of what that looks like or feels like for us. And it, in no way it's meant to be like really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like limiting, but instead expansive, that it really includes whatever feels right to you. And what we always say at the Meaning Makers is that wellness is a practice. It's not a destination that you're going to get to and a product that you're going to achieve, but that it has ebbs and flows, that access to wellness can be very simple. It could also be very complex. It can be very dynamic. It could be challenging. It can be many things at different times in your life, depending on, again, the context or access that you have currently in your life. And so it's quite fluid and it's a practice. And sometimes we become really practiced at what aspect of our well-being. And sometimes, you know, we're taxed in some other aspects. And we're going to explore that a little bit more today. I also wanted to note here that wellness looks like and feels like very differently for different bodies and different cultures. And I think that that's important to note as well. For myself, kind of growing up, I've had a really limiting vision of what wellness was. And it was really always connected to food and fitness. And as I grew and got wiser, I realized there was huge aspects of my culture and my life that were really well, but that weren't necessarily being mirrored back to me in a way of kind of validation. So we want to say that you really are the ultimate expert of what well-being can be like to you, and that we ask you or invite you really to check in with your own body, that intuition of what feels right for you, whatever that might be. And that in that space to just stay curious about whatever discomforts come up. I know that's a hard place for me too. I don't really like to stay in a place of curiosity. I kind of feel way more safe when I kind of know a path and where I'm going, and I don't like to wait around. But I do invite you to explore that a little bit more, because you really hold the knowledge within yourself of what might be useful for you. So with that, I hope that it's some framing about what well-being might be, without it being too prescriptive, really, and that it could be more expansive. So let's dive into a little bit more of the multidimensional aspects of what well-being can be. We borrowed this semantic map here from SAMHSA, which kind of illustrates what makes it really multidimensional, is that there's very different aspects to well-being. And again, this is intended to be more expansive, but also does not include other things that might be missing for yourself. So if you see something there that's kind of not highlighted here that you can't really resonate or connect to, feel free to put that in that box. But I invite you to tour this a little bit, this graphic or organizer, and see what speaks to you. So some of the dimensions here that they offer is the dimension of emotional well-being. And that means coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships, for example. Some financial well-being, satisfaction with current and future financial situations. Social, developing a sense of connection, belonging, and well-developed support system. Spiritual wellness, expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life. Occupational, personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. Physical, recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. Intellectual is recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. And environmental, good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support your well-being. And I wanted to make sure I gave it some time there and that I read that out loud. I think it was definitely something that was asked of me before, and so I want to make sure I did that. And if it's a little annoying because it's on the slide, I do apologize, and thank you for your patience. So as I said, it's just another kind of aspect of what it might be. And today, as we do a wellness check-in with ourselves, I'm going to really ask you to look at this dimension. And again, if one's missing, please add that for yourself and figure out right now, today, in this week, where might you be? Where might be feeling really taxed at this moment in your life, and what might be feeling a lot more complete or whole or abundant. As we begin this kind of wellness check-in, I want to invite you again to slow down a little bit, to really check into your body. And if you need to move a little bit more, you know, rotate your neck, move your shoulders. If you've been on computers, for some of you, this might be like the 5th Zoom meeting today. And I'm sorry if it has been, because it's, you know, we carry a whole lot of tension in our shoulders and neck. So move around a little bit as you feel comfortable. If you want to stand, if you're in a room where you can lie down and you just kind of want me to listen to me as I guide you through this wellness check-in, feel free to do that. And if it feels helpful for you, grab a piece of paper, a Post-it note, a pen, and maybe do this exercise with me. This is an offering that can be used for yourself as like a daily check-in for yourself. You could use one of these questions as like a sentence starter for checking in with yourself. You could also use this with your teams at one of your next Zoom meetings, like just allowing people an opportunity to pause and get connected to their body and check in with their well-being a little bit more. Okay, so whatever feels comfortable. And again, if something you're not liking it, you definitely don't have to do it. It's invitational. All right, so let's give it a try and see where we're at now. It's definitely been a way harder week for me, so it's I'm definitely feeling some of these dimensions a little bit more taxed. So let's check that out a little bit. All right, so I want you to think about these dimensions, and the words are there if you can't read the print because it's quite small. And think about what's feeling right for you right now. What's feeling quite fulfilled or abundant, full. And I want you to also maybe think about what's feeling a little extra taxed this week or even today. And maybe write the word down or a couple of words, whatever feels comfortable, if that's useful. And as you're thinking of these dimensions and what's feeling full and what's feeling a little bit more taxing, I want you to think about how you know that. Like what signs are telling you that you're feeling quite taxed or you're feeling quite well in this area. And that might look like, what is your body feeling, or where might you feel it in your body? Or what might it look like or be feeling like in your relationships with other people, your colleagues or your family members, your support system? And once you reach some level of reflection there of how you know this in your body, in the past when you felt this way before, what has helped you feel better? So if an area in your life it's feeling quite taxed is like physical well-being or occupational, when you've been in that place before, how did you start feeling a lot more abundant in that area? What did you do? Okay. And then as you're going through this process, I want you to think about in your life right now, who might be able to support you with this? Is there someone in your life or people in your life or resources in your life, other folks that can help you feel witnessed or much more research, or that you could reach out for some support? Mm-hmm. And as you explore some resourcing, if you feel quite like, I can't really think of someone, or I don't have someone, or I'm feeling like a lot of other people in my life are also feeling taxed in a lot of these dimensions, we really want to offer that at the end. We have a list of resources that we've compiled for you to share to see if that's helpful. And that if you need more of like direct connection to one of us, you could definitely email us and we could be in touch and see how we can support each other to this, so that you feel definitely not alone in this process. Mm-hmm. And kind of as we come to a close, I just wanted to do a check-in about this wellness check-in. How was this like? Was this useful for you? was checking in and slowing down and looking at the 8 dimensions and whatever else might be missing? Was it useful? Was it helpful? What might it be showing you or teaching you about your life in this moment right now? And as some thoughts come to mind about this, I'm inviting you, if you feel comfortable sharing, to share that on the chat box there, whatever it was like for you. Okay, so I just want to take a moment here to pause, to connect and to reflect about how this was feeling. Was it useful, how you're feeling right now? Okay. I'm feeling like this wellness check-in guide was new to me and it was helpful. Great. It was helpful. Yeah. I'm definitely glad that it's providing some relief. You know, we're here in California, at least we're 3 weeks in, you know, to kind of being home and working and all the newness. And while newness can be great and awesome, it's also very difficult and hard. So I'm glad that it was able to provide some relief and it was helpful. The use of the word tax seemed to connect. Yeah. Yeah. I get an image of like, I don't know, like a typewriter typing really, really, really fast. Like it's like very noisy. I also think of the IRS. I don't know. So maybe taxing for me is like, oh God, it's overwhelming, you know. Yeah, great, great, great. And if it was hard, I do want to say, if it was just like it's hard for you to reach there or to think about it, or it's uncomfortable to settle into the body this way, that it's quite normal and okay. And that to go at the speed of trust, you know, whatever feels right for you and safe for you, that's a right place to be and to explore. And if ever something feels unsafe or a little too risky or a little too vulnerable to do, then maybe, you know, don't do that. You know, take some time to just feel really comfortable in whatever it is you do or you think of, including maybe these resources or these people that you think of reaching out or someone that can help you. Just go at the speed of trust. And again, I say these things out loud because even for myself, when I say I have to slow down to go fast, that's such a paradigm shift for me about slowing down. And I get a lot of shame that comes of like, what does it mean to be productive? Or I need to be productive. I need to produce this amount of work every day to feel useful. And that's really taxing on my spirit. And this new way of doing things has been really quite challenging. And so I just want to offer it. If it's hard, it's totally right. You know, it's valid that it's hard and to do it as you wish. And then I just also invite you, if this practice, as you go through it and you have the handout there to keep with you as you practice it, again, wellness being a practice, the more you practice it at your own comfort, you might feel more relaxed or able to share it with others. So only share if you feel like it's going to be helpful for someone else and you have a relationship with someone else where it might be helpful for them. So great, great. I like go at the speed of trust. Great. All right. Michelle, I know you're there. Were you able to feel a sense of relaxation?
It definitely was helpful to check in. It can be hard to slow down, as we've all said. So yeah, I'm really appreciating the invitation to slow down, even as, you know, we're working right now. We're at work and I'm trying to slow down even in that. So thank you. So we're gonna move forward and offer, just in the same way that Judy offered the model, the framework of the wheel of the wellness wheel, the multidimensional wellness as one window to look through as we think about our wellness. I'm going to offer another window to look through as we think about our sense of well-being during times that can be really tumultuous. So we're going to talk a little bit about self-care in this time today, but I really want to mention and just name up front that this concept of self-care can be taken in many different ways and can be used in many different ways. And I want to be really clear about the way that we're using it here today. Both Judy and Leora mentioned this earlier on, but we're really wanting to frame self-care as part of our practice of contributing to others. And as we talk a little bit, I'm sure many people on this call are very familiar with the need for self-care, and yet in our practice it sometimes gets overlooked. So I wanted to read just a quote that helps me stay grounded in my values when I'm talking about self-care. And this comes from our colleagues over at Lumos Transforms. It says, effective self-care makes more space for us to do liberatory work and transform the systems that create and perpetuate adversity. So really giving ourselves a moment to consider that as we pause, to notice how we're doing and to tend to how we're doing so in service of the larger work that we're all involved in. Okay, so we're going to talk about settling as self-care. And what are we settling? What are we talking about settling? We're talking about our nervous system. This graphic here, the window of tolerance, is one helpful way, not the only way to think about what's going on in our nervous system, but it's one helpful way. And what we're looking at here is kind of a picture of how our bodies navigate, how our nervous systems navigate stressful experiences. And you'll notice that within the window of tolerance, there's the words able to think and feel at the same time. So really what the window of tolerance represents is this space in our nervous system when we're not perceiving a threat to our safety, when we feel resourced, when we feel connected, and when we're able to experience the sensations and emotions of our bodies and also remain engaged and responsive. And the two spaces above and below the window of tolerance represent the response of our body and the response of our nervous system when we perceive that we're not safe. And it's really important to note that different people respond to stress differently, and that this is based on everything from our past life experiences to the conditions in the current moment. So thinking about how times of collective stress, like what we're experiencing right now, will absolutely impact how wide or how narrow our window is. Our window of tolerance is dynamic over the course of our lives, but also over the course of a day or an hour. And so what we're hoping to shed some light on today is that it makes sense that during these times we might find ourselves experiencing the sense of being outside of our window. We might feel hyper-aware, hyper-vigilant. We might feel reactive, feelings of anger, feelings of frustration, very understandably. We might also experience our stress as a sense of shutdown, a sense of not being able to focus. All of these things are normal. And what we're hoping to build an awareness of is what might it feel like how do we know when we're in our window of tolerance, and what might it feel like to notice that and see if we can help ourselves come back into that window. So just before we move on, I wanted to name a couple of things that it might feel like when we're in our window of tolerance, and see if we can get a sense of what that is in our own experience. So noticing that when we're in our window, we might feel a sense of calm. We might feel a sense of an awareness of our own boundaries and also of other people's boundaries. We might feel relaxed. We might feel happy. We might feel a sense of ease in our muscles. Okay? And just noting that if these things aren't available to you at this time, or if this doesn't feel familiar to what you're feeling right now, that makes sense. It's really important for us to, as we're taking this time to slow down and pause, to honor the complexity of our feelings. So the field that we often work in, the trauma-informed practices field, really notes that before we can engage in healing, before we can engage in transformation, we need to engage in stabilizing. And part of that stabilizing might be just validating that what I'm feeling right now, what I'm experiencing right now makes sense given the circumstances that we're living in. So just wanted to pause on that for a moment and really let us have that sink in. Is it possible for us to say to ourselves in moments of overwhelm or in moments where we don't feel like we're fully up to engaging with life in the way we might be used to, that it makes sense? And as we're able to kind of affirm ourselves in that way, I want to offer that it might not all the time, it might not be the right time and place to work on settling our nervous system. It might be that the stress response you're having in that moment matches the need of that moment. And so what we're going to offer as we move forward is something that you might try to do anytime, and you might also use it as a practice for when you have some space from the stressor and are able to spend some time kind of metabolizing some of the experiences. All right. So I'm going to walk us through just some steps to use settling practices, and it's kind of a general process that you can use with practices that work for you. So the first step, and the super important step, is to even notice where might you be in your nervous system. Thinking about that window of tolerance and noticing what's telling you that you might be in your window, or that you might be in a hyper-aroused state or a hypo-aroused state. What sensations, thoughts, and feelings are giving you clues as to where you are, where you might be. And then noticing if that's a pleasant or an unpleasant feeling. It's really important to know that there are feelings that maybe in our culture have been deemed as bad, but that it's not necessarily true that every time we feel anger or sadness that we're outside of our window of tolerance, right? Those feelings might feel appropriate to the moment. And so just noticing, is that thing you're feeling pleasant or unpleasant? Does it feel like it's serving the needs of the moment? And that self-observation will help to kind of figure out what might you need in that moment. So after the self-observation, that in and of itself might feel like it settled you, right? Just bringing that awareness. And you might choose a tool or strategy that can support settling your nervous system. And I want to be really clear that there's so many different things that work for so many different people. So thinking about what some of your strategies are, everything from breathing to taking a walk to making a cup of tea, all of these things and more, screaming into a pillow. All of these things and more can be tools and strategies for settling your nervous system. And like Judy said, you know what works for you, right? And you'll know it when you feel it. And just noticing that if at any point while you're trying to settle yourself, if you feel more discomfort or more stress, that you should feel very free to stop. Many of us are often taught to kind of push through those signals that are telling us to stop. when something's not feeling right. And so just really celebrating if you notice that something's not working for you and you stop. That's huge. And then the third step is to check back in and notice if anything's shifted in how you're experiencing the moment. And once again, how can you tell? What's telling you that something has maybe shifted in your state? So while we're here together today, I want to offer a pretty simple, but not necessarily, simple but profound strategy for settling the nervous system. And you're welcome to practice with us. You're welcome to just listen or just read along. But we're going to talk about settling with mindful breathing. This is probably not brand new to anyone on this call, but we really wanted to set this time as a moment to practice, not just intellectualize, as I often do, but actually practice with the breath. So in the context of noticing our window of tolerance, noticing where we might be, the goal of the settling breath is to connect to a breath that's comfortable. So really taking a moment to recognize that there's not a goal here other than to seek and navigate towards comfort, whatever that feels like for you. So as we start, I'll invite you to maybe sit back, lean back in the chair that you're in. If it's possible to feel your feet on the ground, maybe you need to stretch or move a little bit. All of that's fine. Stillness is not a requirement for breathing. And the first invitation would just be to notice that you are breathing. Maybe you notice that by a slight rise and fall in your chest or in your stomach. Maybe it's the sound of your breath that you notice first. And if it's possible to inhale and exhale through your nose, I invite you to do that. Other options are inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And noticing that if thoughts come up, that you have choice to not follow them. And as you inhale and exhale, you might try extending the exhale. So letting your exhale become twice as long as your inhale. It is said that our inhale kind of stimulates our sympathetic nervous system, that which gives us activation and energy, and our exhale goes with our parasympathetic nervous system, that which moves us toward rest. So just letting that exhale be twice as long as your inhale. You might experiment with varying the depth of your breathing. Deep breathing into your belly is absolutely not necessary. If more shallow breathing feels better, that's fine. Or you might experiment with moving your breath deeper. Knowing that at any moment you're free to stop. You're free to move, to look around, to stretch. And just noticing if while in the short time that we've sat with our breath, if anything has shifted, maybe in your thoughts or in your emotions, new sensations in the body, or not. And when you're ready to kind of come back to our chat box here, just taking a moment to pause and connect and reflect. And if you feel comfortable, if you'd like to share, if you noticed any shifts in your mind or your body from practicing this mindful breathing. Just witnessing for ourselves and kind of collectively witnessing for each other, if this practice, how this practice affects us. Noticing the heart rate slowing, feeling chill, calm. Yeah, it felt good to not be looking at the screen for a moment. Yeah. Unhooked. Yeah. It's relaxing. Yeah, simple and effective. I think those were the words I was looking for earlier. Simple and effective. Yeah. Some people noticing their muscles in the face relaxing, like the jaw. And also noticing that mindful breathing takes practice. Definitely. Takes practice to stay with the breath. Some people having some learning about where they carry their stress and balance. And also, if this practice, I just want to say, if this practice didn't work for you, that makes sense too. So really just affirming that as you learn and as you explore, if things don't work for you, that's something, and noticing that is something to celebrate also. But I'm grateful that there are people who that felt helpful for. How about you, Judy? Did you get a chance to practice with us?
Yeah, Michelle, thank you. I think the deep learning for me there was as a person who I've told myself I'm very solutions driven. I don't even know where I came up with those words. Someone must have told me that. And so I was always trying to like find the solution to things. I think I'm always trying to look for the strategy. And I really liked how just when you said, notice that you're breathing, like was enough for me to just be like, oh, that's enough. That's an enough strategy or good enough for me to just even stop there. Like, yeah, I'm breathing. And that immediately just provided a sense of like calming. And I didn't have to worry about where's that strategy and the tool and what else can I do? Now I'm going to go to yoga and I'm going to go run a mile. Like, just calm down. You know what I mean? Just I'm breathing and that's good for now. And it helped me feel better. So thank you for providing that. It's always, I learn something new all the time about myself. So yeah, so I think it's definitely important, to just integrate kind of what we've explored. I mean, these 20 minutes of just going into a practice of self-reflection and checking in and breathing and checking in on my window of tolerance and yours perhaps can feel like really, really long, and it also is really, really tiny. And so I wanted to offer like a way to just synthesize, a way that you might be able to integrate what you learned in this time together. And just kind of digest it. I think you said that word earlier, Michelle. So I want you to think about in our time together, what were 3 areas of wellness this week, different from last week maybe, and maybe different from next week coming. But what are currently right now 3 areas of wellness that you want to pay attention to? And so in those 8 dimensions, maybe you might want to highlight those words, put them on a sticky in front of your computer or something like this, just so that you notice them, you're aware of them, and they're there to maybe think about throughout the week. And if that's not helpful and it stresses you out, don't do that, just whatever might be helpful. And then I want to offer that to write down 2 things that I felt in my body during the settling practice. And again, that's also helpful to write down somewhere sometimes because it's a reminder like, if I can just repeat that or do that or be a little bit more practiced in that, I might reach to those sensations when I need them. So what did you feel? So writing that down somewhere or just thinking about it and holding that. Okay, and then as you're going through that process, maybe what's one question or a need that you have? So out of that, this time together, was there something that came up that you have a question around or a need that you noticed wasn't there before that you might want to tend to? And if it feels comfortable for you and if you feel like, resourcing with us today, you might want to add that to the chat box there. If you had a question or a need that we can help you with. I said it earlier, and I'll add our webpage on there if you feel like anything resonates there, or my email. If you want to email me more directly, I did see some private chats to me, and so I really appreciate that. And I'll add my email in case you want to email me throughout the week. Or if you just have any other question about something, feel free to add that on the chat box right now, and we can make sure we tend to it to the best of our abilities. So. How to do this consistently, riding the wave that it works, still a bit ooga booga. I don't know what ooga booga means, but I'm not sure what that means, but I would say for me, for what's hard is consistency in general. And even though I know and research tells me that the more I'm consistent or how I can create a habit out of something, the easier it'll get. But it's not oftentimes easy for me. And so again, it's whatever, really kind of checking into your body, letting your body be your kind of guide as to what might you need and what feels comfortable, to go at the speed of trust, to slow down, to go faster, kind of all these other techniques to see what might work. And, I think we've all been pretty practiced in being a certain way and producing in a certain way and working in a certain way for such a long time that in these times that we're doing things so differently, it just feels even more overwhelming when we're out of routine and out of schedule and out of the norm, from your actual environment where you're working out of. And maybe for me, for example, I'm an extrovert, so the lack of touch and affection with somebody else at work and, being my meaning-making partner in person, that's hard for me. So see what works for you, definitely what might help. It's important to care for yourselves. Yeah, I think so. I think when we care for ourselves, we can really then care for others. When we can be really in a state of like feeling settled and grounded, we can be that anchor and that person for someone else when they need us. So definitely important. And would like some simple exercise to practice. Great. Would love a few more simple exercises. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just add my email right now there. So if you want a more direct email for me and I could, resource something for you, great. And then at the end, we're also going to share a little bit more. Okay.
So I'm going to move us to the takeaways, Judy.
Okay.
So it was a lot, maybe it wasn't a lot. Maybe I'm seeing folks want more, but we want to make sure we leave you with just a few takeaways before we move into closing. So the first one would be that settling your nervous system is self-care, and really thinking about that as a form of self-care that allows us to do all of the liberatory and important transformative work we want to do in the world. Second one, there are many aspects of wellness. It's multidimensional, even beyond just the 8 we spoke about here today, and that it's okay to focus on one during this time, and always. It's always okay to focus on one thing at a time during times of uncertainty, which are more common. And then finally, that wellness is not a journey meant to be made alone, that we need each other to make meaning. This is one we obviously believe in very strongly, and we're really grateful for everyone for showing up here today, just the richness of what it is to be here together. So as we move into the close, we just invite you to think about one word that describes your experience here in the session today. So it can either be about the content or an emotion that was evoked while you were here, and we invite you to put that word in the chat box. Gratitude, hope, supported, community and affirmation. Yes, peace, validation, some more peace. Good. Well, keep those words coming, and I'm going to pass it to Leora as we move to close our session today.
Thanks, Michelle. Thumbs up if you can hear me, Michelle. Cool. So we are almost at the hour here in California, well, everywhere, but at 4 in California. And then if we're your dinner date, it's almost 7. So I'm really, I'm again grateful. I started off personally this time together saying like, I'm okay, I'm not good, I'm not bad, and I'm feeling tender. And an hour later, I'm feeling actually quite not energized necessarily, but reminded and feeling witnessed, like lots of folks just feeling connected even in this short amount of time. And so I'm feeling that. And I also want to offer, we've been kind of centering on this Brene Brown quote for the past 3 weeks. And I want to offer that the learning that I'm sitting with in this time period after this amount of days is that every single day is going to be different. And what are practices that we can commit to center consistency and predictability in a time that feels very inconsistent and unpredictable. And so even taking 5 minutes of finding breath, and even taking 5 minutes in a time like this where we're not being asked to do something or produce something, to me feels like a consistent and a predictable practice that I want to commit to. So last week we offered, Michelle, if you can move forward, and one more time, move forward. Thank you. Yeah, so last week we said, next week's going to be our last one, and then everyone said no. So we're extending these Wellness Wednesdays through April. But I just want you to note the time change. So for our East Coasters, you might be glad to see that we're an hour up now. So the time is not. We're going to start at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Wednesday. Next Wednesday, the week after, and the week after, to carry us through the month. And I am going to put our evaluation link in the chat box, and it's going to come to you in the form afterwards. It's really a way that we can get feedback about what would you like to see continued and what would you like to see different. Maybe some of you would like a smaller cluster of just school psychs so you can actually get to talk and share with each other. Maybe some of you would like to introduce your own practice. Maybe some of you would like, just like I saw, actually if you can just go back one more, Michelle. Some of you would like to continue these short practices that we can do. So please do give us your feedback so that we can reflect and rewire, which is what we do every single month. After this, you're going to be getting the deck, and you're also going to get a link to many of our other offerings this month. There's a lot going on. There's a lot being offered to support you. So we will be sending out the registration links in the follow-up email, and you'll get this in a PDF, so you'll be able to register from here. And on that, I want to close with a massive amount of gratitude to Michelle and to Judy for guiding us again, to many of you who are familiar faces in our Wednesday Wellness Party, and for those of you who took a hopefully nurtured risk and joined us for this hour for the first time. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you again next Wednesday. We look forward to hearing from you, and we're so grateful to have been able to provide a little witnessing this Wednesday. So be well. We're going to stay on the line for about 5 minutes if you would like to unmute yourself and ask for anything directly. But otherwise, I'm hoping that you transition with a little bit more regulation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, LaShawn. Good luck on 574.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Gracias.
Thank you from Alaska.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Alaska.
It's in the house.
Thank you.
Yay. South Africa.
South Africa. Wow.
Janetta, hope you're feeling a little less tense, maybe a little bit more, who knows? But hope you're feeling a little less tense. Great to have you. Hilda, we'll hopefully see you next week. Thank you all so much. Yes.
Mm-hmm. It will continue.
Mahalo, mahalo. Thank you, Carla.
I feel like I'm traveling.
Oh. Deep gratitude to you, Corinne. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did the whole family exit?
I'm not sure.
I I can't find them
How
anymore.
fun to have your family, my family, on the call. Oh, there they are.
Are we the
Thank
last
you.
one? Are we the last
No,
one?
you're far from the last one.
Oh, good.
Morning, Jackie.
Good to know. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. It
Yeah.
was really, really wonderful experience to be here. So
Thanks for being here.
Hugs.
Bye.
You. Bye.
It's true. I guess Jackie is school mental health.
She is. Absolutely.
That's true.